Hey guys, what's going on? We're back on the midnight beta as Enhancement Shaman, this time playing Stormbringer in a plus 12 Algathar's Academy. And if you don't remember this dungeon, it is from Dragonfight. Dragonfight? Dragonflight. The last expansion. Previous one. Pretty good dungeon. And honestly, I did a lot more damage than I thought was going to happen, and it flowed really nice. And the dungeon has been changed to a certain extent to more, I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it suits the midnight playstyle that they're looking for, I believe, much better. Now, there are still a few things that I think might need a little bit of tuning, but overall, this was definitely great, and I love the changes that they did. So to start off with here, we got the massive AoE pull in the tree zone, so the very first zone with Bloodlust and Powerhouseness. As you can see, I'm not doing insane numbers as like the Warlock and the Holy, or whatever you want to call that, the pink thing, the Ret Paladin, yeah. But I am doing pretty decent. Now, I do think in that scenario with that mass AoE, I think Totemic would have definitely taken the lead by far. But considering Stormbringer's limited AoE cap, right, where you have Tempest is uncapped and Crash Lightning is somewhat uncapped, but you're mostly relying on Chain Lightning to do AoE and then Storm Striking to get that little spread pressure out, right? Overall, I think it was good. I do think Totemic would have taken the cake there, but I think Stormbringer brings more single target and a bit better focus as well, or sorry, funnel, I guess is a better word for it. And yeah, but overall, so far, it's been great. And then here we got the first boss, and if you don't remember the mechanics, basically he summons a lot of little guys on the floor there, as you can see them, and they're not too important. They're just basically just cleave fodder. The important thing is this treant. So when that comes out, you want to focus it down as soon as possible. And then as soon as it falls over, it will create a healing circle that removes the debuff from you. And that debuff that I'm talking about is, you'll see it come up here in a second. Whenever he summons the treant, it will put a bleed on everybody. As you can see, even on the Warlock's health frame right now, you can see a bleed on him. So this is because of whenever he starts to branch out, he sends out a bleed on everybody. Now, it can be dispelled via ratio from Dwarf, as I used it, or I believe dragons can remove it. But as soon as the circle, as you can see, it goes off, boom, removes all stacks. So just make sure you're standing in that. Other than that, it's the exact same as Dragonflight. Well, actually, it is the exact same as Dragonflight. There's no other than that. Basically, the little gremlin thingies here summon, maybe even take Poison Cleanse Totem if you don't have a Poison Cleanser, because that dot can get pretty nasty for the tank. But yeah, it's basically just a cleave fest. Have fun. As you can see, the Warlock is definitely having fun. He is blasting. And as you can see, I'm not really blasting, but again, we don't have that insane mass AoE cleave that I think the Warlock is able to dish out via Seed of Corruption or whatever they do. I haven't really looked into them. But like, we're basically banking on Doomwind's procs and Crash Lightning procs to get our mass AoE. Other than that, it's just minor cleave, and honestly, I don't think it was that bad. It really wasn't. So here we got the first mini boss. So this Guardian Sentry. I didn't really notice anything different on him. The tornadoes still summon and everything like that. Storm Lash, he does this big AoE. So nothing has really changed on this guy's part at all. But the big birdie boss that's coming up next has been changed significantly to a much easier time. So it's kind of nice. I'm not going to lie. Everything that's been changed is kind of nice. And I do believe Veximus, if you remember that boss, if not, we'll get to it. He is also changed. And then I think Echo of Dragosa has slightly changed, but I can't say for certain. Maybe someone else will know for sure. But anyways, this part is the exact same as it was in Dragonflight, where it is basically like a gauntlet. as soon as you finish with the first pack, the next pack summons, and blah blah blah. So the first one, obviously, just a bunch of mini birds coming down, and you just beat them up. And then now a big bird with a bunch of mini birds come down. The big bird is going to enrage the tiny birds in itself, I think, with some cast that cannot be interrupted. So this raging screech, as you can see, they all grow in size a little bit. So nothing insane, and there's really nothing you can really do about it either, other than maybe like if somebody has a soothe, for instance, that you could use that. But yeah, you just gotta watch out for the gusts that they do, and that's it. So if you want to send cooldowns here, you can. Uh, it really depends on the timing of everything, to be honest. So you do kind of want to send CDs whenever you can, but when I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe I shouldn't. But in hindsight, maybe I should have, because the boss that we're going into does have kind of damage amp phases, so it might be worth sending Ascendance here and then having Ascendance back up for the damage amp phase. I can't tell, but I think so. I think it would be. I didn't use it, and if you can't tell, I am using a on use. It is a trinket that basically it's a 2-minute cooldown. It grants you a slight chunk of haste, and then the more you attack the target that you marked, you gain critical strike chance to a certain extent. So you gain, I think, upwards to 600 or 700 total stat from both haste and crit, split half evenly or whatever. So it is quite useful. But here we got the second boss, Karoth, who has changed a lot. So if you remember, it used to be time-based for his phases, and now it is HP-based, 75%, and I do believe it's around 35 or 40%, somewhere around there. He goes into his third phase, which you get to choose, well, technically. But for this deafening screech, I genuinely don't know how it's supposed to work, because as you can see, the warlock has a dot on him, and now everybody got the dot on the first one, but not the second one. So I'm not quite sure on how that gets applied or why it got applied. I assumed it would be the interrupt, but it's not. But anyways, as you can see, we sent the balls into the wind zone, which constantly pushes us. But if you collect one of the orbs, so you can see them with the little arrow on their head around. If you collect one of those, you gain a big burst of haste and an immunity to the knockback that is going on. So as you can see, we are getting slightly pushed around. So that orb gives you that immunity for just a little bit. And now we pushed him to the third phase, so now we send him into the fire zone. So this triggers, and now he gains a little damage amp for a little bit, which is pretty huge. So this is where you want to send cooldowns if you have them. As you can see, I just barely get them. And then he's going to continuously pulse AoE while fire circles fall on the ground. So in my opinion, I think it's going to be best to have Wind Zone and then Fire Zone, because you just get the pulsating damage later on and for a lot less. But yeah, that's basically the fight. So they changed it so you don't choose when. It's just this happens, and if you don't do it in time, I'm not really sure what happens. I assume it's just a pulsating damage that happens. So you just want to do it as fast as possible. As you can see, both the Ret Paladin and the Warlock unfortunately fell over. So it's just us three trying to win the boss, and we do. Spoiler alert, we do, as you can tell. He's very, very low, and we're just cleaving him down, beating him up, off we go. Nothing too crazy. So, kind of nice. But if you do remember from Dragonflight, this next zone was always one where people tended to die a lot. And yeah, it's still the same. It's still the same pain in the butt as before. So the reason being is for the giant wormy guys that you will see coming up. They seem to be nastier. I'm not really sure if you can line of sight or anything like you used to, but they are definitely much nastier than they have been in the past. So as you'll see here, the druid gets jumped on and gets a dot put on him and falls over. That was a bit unfortunate on his part because I think he pulled aggro on the trash mobs as the demon hunter pulled. So it's just a bit of unfortunateness. But you can see here, it teleports to the rep pally and just nukes him down. I assume he ate the breath. I'm not really sure. But it basically, whenever he does his ambush on you, you get a pretty nasty bleed. Now, he never did his ambush on me, but you can see on the druid, there's a nasty bleed on him, very, very close. So I'm trying to top him up, help him out. Yeah, so I don't know if you can ignore it like you used to, because it looks like he straight up teleports rather than jumps to you, if that makes sense. So I don't know if you can skip or ignore the mechanic by doing what we used to in Dragonflight. That'll be a question for a better player or someone with more, testing experience, I guess. But unfortunately, the druid then falls over to the breath, and it is what it is. So now we start moving onwards to Veximus. We're getting real close there. Um, we almost pull this worm, but sneaky as a shaman wolf, we get past. And then we get into these guys, and nothing has really changed about these ones. They just have their typical cast, and the battle axe, does its nasty tank debuff. Other than that, I didn't notice anything else. The staff that used to be there, that used to do that massive AoE, I can't say for certain if it's still there because I didn't see that cast. I didn't see any specific cast like that. So, yeah, I cannot say for certain. But anyways, we got another big wormy here, so you'll be able to see the mechanic more clearer this time. So you can see it puts a nasty dot on the druid, and he has to heal quite a bit just to keep himself topped up. And yeah, so none of them tried to line of sight it. They just kind of ate it with a defensive. So I'm not sure. Before, you used to be able to stand on the ledge over to the right there and ignore the mechanic, basically. It would try to jump to you, but it would kind of bug out and cancel. And if you LOS'd behind the pillar there, you used to be able to do the exact same thing. So not exactly sure if you can continue doing that or not. But anyways, we have the giant pull here with Bloodlust when all the trash mobs. Is definitely a powerful pull with a lot of sleep effects and stuff like that. So I should have dropped Tremor much earlier, but as I did it, he dropped his Silence in Sagil, which was pretty massive, and we're able to just quickly finish off the pack. And you can see I am doing a significant amount of damage, I would say. Now, I do believe Blizzard has recently implemented the fact that it'll show both total damage and DPS, but unfortunately I couldn't figure out how to get that set up, and I don't know if it was implemented yet either. But I did see something saying that that is implemented for the damage meters, so for future things, hopefully we'll be able to see it. But I don't see myself playing much more beta with the pre-patch just around the corner. And yeah, I'll probably be messing around with that a whole lot, trying to perfect UI and stuff like that. But I do plan to go completely add-on list for a while, at least until it becomes an issue, which I'm hoping it's not going to, because I really do like the way this all feels. I'm not going to lie, everything seems pretty nice. So, but anyways, on to the Veximus boss. So this guy hasn't changed too much. One thing is, I do believe the orbs used to drop a puddle, but now they don't. Not certain though. But as you can see, he does the fissure, and you have to do the thing. But basically, for this boss, you have to collect orbs. Be careful on how many stacks you get. As you can see, everybody has a debuff. It's a magic effect, so the healer has to dispel you. And if you wait a certain amount of time, it will actually time out. As you can see, I'll do it here. I'll wait just barely or not, and I'll get double stacks. I thought I did, but I guess I didn't because I suck. But yeah, basically you want to try and get it as soon as possible, so that way the dot falls off quickly, and then you can grab a secondary one without getting 2 stacks. As soon as you get 2 stacks, it definitely becomes a bit more of a pain in the butt. But as you can see, we kind of grab it. The healer will dispel whoever has the most stacks or is in a bad spot type of thing. And then whenever you get a mana bomb, basically you got to run it out. because you're going to drop a puddle, and that's about it. Other than that, the arcane explosion or something, expulsion maybe, basically pushes you away, and then for the next 3 seconds you drop a puddle under your feet, so you just gotta keep on moving without dying. So arcane fissure here, you can see the puddles drop below my feet. You just gotta run away and, you know, not stand in the same spot for too long. So from what I remember, it's basically the exact same, maybe slightly easier or tuned down. So here, this is usually where a staff would be, but I couldn't see it, so I assume they just removed the staffs. I'm not certain. But you can just see the warlock just, I don't know what he's doing, but he's just slapping crap. It's insane. He's just slapping stuff with a bunch of shadow magic and it's dying. And I don't know, it's affliction too, which isn't usually a significant competitor, but especially in Mythic Plus. But this time around, seems to be a pretty powerful competitor. Unlike Shaman, well, Shaman's not too bad. From what I've tested, we're actually pretty competitive. I would say we're more in the terms of balanced, maybe. But we'll have to see what happens in the end game of the first season and see about all the tuning patches and stuff like that. So, but what has changed here is the big axe guys. They're actually pretty nasty right now. So before they would just spin around in place and you would have to dodge them. Well, now they send out a image of themselves to do that spinning, but also they do a smash on the ground, which causes massive AoE damage, which you'll see every so often. So these Echo Knights are painful. So that arcane smash, as you can see, we all took damage. You have to be careful with that, and you do want to use a defensive when you can. That seems to be a really nasty AoE. And as you come up to the last boss, you have to fight 2 more. And as you'll see in a moment, we make a mistake, but it is what it is. It's beta, it happens. But Arcane Smash, we get half HP. So I do have a feeling this might get tuned back a little bit because that's pretty nasty. Especially just for a 12, and considering we are geared to what they think we should be for a 12, I do think that might need a little bit of tuning. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe I'm crazy. But as you can see, the tank pulls the boss and 3 of us go down. So we run it back. Thankfully, we were able to kill 1 Echo Knight. But yeah, it was just unfortunate. We could have timed it, I think. Well, maybe not with how many times I died on this boss. It's ridiculous. But anyways, on to Echo of Doragosa. I don't know, however you pronounce that. Basically, she's pretty much the same. Summons those arcane pools that do disappear over time. But every time you get hit by some form of arcane ability, you gain a stack. As you can see on both the Demon Hunter, myself, and the Ret Paladin, you can see a stack. Once that reaches 3, you drop a puddle instantly. So you want to be careful about where you are when you have multiple stacks. And all these puddles, as you can see, they shoot out orbs. So you got to be very, very careful about that as well. Because, yeah, you don't want to get hit by those, because the less stacks you have, the less puddles on the floor that they're going to be. But as you can tell, I'm not really good at dodging them for whatever reason, so I've already gotten hit by a couple of them, but it is what it is. And then we get gripped in, and I run away, and I'm like, yay, I'm safe. And then there's a puddle, so I watch out, try and get a bit of damage out, do what I can, and I get hit by something and drop another puddle, so I'm like, oh my god, what the heck's going on? So I'm running around. But other than that, she does put a debuff on you. As you can see on the Ret Paladin, there's a giant circle on him. That's basically just an indicator that you're going to get a stack. The healer has to dispel you whenever you're out, so you don't splash the damage. But if you do have 3, you will drop a puddle on the ground, so you do want to be careful. As you can see, we get a puddle on the floor right by us. And then we're going to get gripped in here in a moment, and it's pretty nasty. Or not. Okay, this wasn't the bad one. Maybe it is. I don't know. But we get a grip in, I pop cooldowns, and I start sending it, and I try to move out, and I hit 2 warps. Genius, right? I'm a freaking genius. I am so smart. So I onk and I popped my defensive right away because I was in a puddle and I figured it would hit me right away, but it didn't. So now we're gonna continue on to the boss, and we're kind of in the middle, which isn't ideal because all the puddles around, and we get gripped in, hit a puddle, and then hit another puddle or orb and die, and then the boss finally falls over. But yeah, pretty good. Anyways, I am excited for this. It's been fun. The beta is looking good, and enhancement is also looking good. But anyways, guys, that is it. Thank you very, very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Laters!